Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's free webcast series. My name is Patrick Smith here at Foundation Software, and I appreciate everybody stopping in today. Today, we are going to cover certified payroll. So going through a little time card entry, we'll show some pay rate defaults. We're going to go through some certified payroll reporting as well. So it'll be a pretty quick one today, figure 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to jump into the system. We're going to go through some of those items, and if anybody has questions, you can save them for later. You can key them into the little question area within the GoToWebinar panel, and I'll do my best to see if I can answer some of those on the fly, and if not, then we'll get through those toward the end of the presentation just to see if anybody has any specific questions. So with that in mind, it looks like we've got a few folks still rolling in here. I'm going to go ahead and open up the Foundation menu. And like I said, we're going to kind of dive right into this thing, rather than going through any kind of like a PowerPoint presentation. This will be more of a live presentation with the software in action. So before we do that, let me just see here, make sure we're good on the attendees. Yeah, looks like we're good to go here. All right, so before we get into that functionality, just to give everybody an idea, for those of you who don't know Foundation Software, we do construction accounting. That's our bread and butter. We've been in the industry since the mid-'80s, and this product here is our main focus. So all of the job costing, the detailed payroll, the AIA billings, that's really our niche. We do have a mobile timekeeping app, which we're going to review during the webinar today as well. And we do some project management for those that are needing help with RFI tracking and submittals and change order requests and that type of thing. So just to kind of throw it out there, if anybody's interested in digging a little bit deeper into Foundation, just more of like an overall overview, we can definitely facilitate that. But otherwise today, like I said, we're going to focus strictly on the payroll side, with certified payroll being the main topic. Now, so everybody can follow along in the way of the menu, navigation-wise. The modules that you're seeing in bold, we've got 3 sub-menus: daily for day-to-day entry, maintenance for setup, reports for running the various reports. So that'll allow everybody to kind of follow along. I'm going to zip through these screens pretty quickly here, but that's just a little crash course on how to move around through the respective modules. Now, I'm going to start with the job setup, and that's always the most critical component here to automate that certified payroll process. So if I get into to set up a job in Foundation, this is where we create the project, job number, job name, different criteria that can be tagged to the job. And that critical component here is this checkbox for certified payroll. So if it is a certified payroll job, check this box. That is the indicator that it's going to generate that certified payroll report. This checkbox is retroactive. So if you forget to check this, or nobody tells you it's a certified job until after the fact, come back to the job, check this box. It'll go backwards retroactively, reproduce those reports that were missed along the way. So setting up the job, flagging it as certified payroll, that's the starting point. From a pay rate standpoint, in the setup of payroll, we have the ability to define pay rates. Now, for those union contractors that are out there, we can help build all the unions, get those rates in, the deductions and fringes, that would be in place. For the non-union companies that are out there, prevailing wage rate tables can be set up by city, by county. They might be state rates, they might be federal, or these could be job-specific rates. So one way or the other, we help define all these different rates. You can then attach the rate table to the job itself. That's how it knows what rates to pull. That's also also knows what fringe to calculate. So again, the setup here is critical on the job side of things, and getting those pay rates into the system so the program knows what rates to pull automatically. So a job is set up, rates are defined, we are now ready to make entries against that job. If I jump into the daily menu under payroll, we can go enter time cards. And this is if you were to key a time card directly into the software itself. I can select an employee up on the top section here. We'll use Rick Stevens. And then on the body of that time card, indicate what job Rick worked. Cost codes, for those that want to cost code their labor, very doable within Foundation. So this would be a list of tasks. General contractors, we use the CSI divisions. Specialty contractors typically have their own custom list of cost codes here. So the codes are optional within Foundation. This is just kind of an FYI that whatever code is selected, that's where that labor is going to show up on the respective report against that particular job. Now we're going to throw an easy time card in here to start with. Rick Stevens, he's working that Lake County job. He's doing demo, 8 hours a day for the entire week. And you'll notice here when I press enter, everything else defaults in, including picking up a labor trade, in this case electrician, as a default off of the employee's record. So if Rick typically works as an electrician, it will default that trade, and then as a result, default that respective pay rate for the electrician against that job. Again, whether that's a job-specific rate for electricians or federal, state, county, city, whatever the situation is, it's going to know what rate to pull. If I were to override that trade, let's say that for that last day, Rick works as a foreman. If I override the trade, it's smart enough to pull in that foreman rate. So the job as well as the trade are what drive those respective rates that we saw on that previous screen within that rate table. Now, another example here, and this is getting into a bit of an exaggeration. Let's use Rick again. Rick's working that Lake County job for an hour as an electrician. We'll go the next hour, bump him up to a foreman, like we did on that previous time card. Then we'll send him out to a different prevailing wage job that might have different rates, and we'll do the same thing. 1 hour as an electrician, and then the last hour on that same day as a foreman. So now we're going to see when I press enter under pay rate, 4 different rates that come in: electrician and foreman rate for this job, electrician and foreman rate for the other job. And now again, the union contractors that are out there, it's going to pull those union rates by default for the prevailing wage. It's going to pull those prevailing wage for the non-union companies that are out there. And an FYI, for any company that's already paying higher than that prevailing wage rate, it will look to the employee record to see what their standard rate is. If it exceeds that prevailing wage rate, it'll use the higher of the two. So no backing into pay rates. The system would just know, pay them the higher of the two, the standard or that prevailing wage rate. So the point is, easy enough to enter these time cards in. You can just zip through it. Like I mentioned before, the setup is absolutely the key. With that in mind, for those that prefer to use mobile timekeeping rather than entering time cards right into the accounting program, then we're getting into the mobile timekeeping app. And really same concept here. The time card would be entered by way of the app. There's an approval process here that maybe a project manager wants to go through and approve those time cards, and then it would make its way over to the Foundation side of things. So this could be a number of different methods here. Users can enter directly in, meaning each employee can clock in and clock out. If the employee has their own phone, for example, they'd be able to clock in and clock out on their own. For those that do go that route, we have geotagging. So the system would allow you to define a perimeter of that job site, and then it would tell you if that employee was inside or outside of that perimeter upon clocking in and out. An option as an alternative to clocking in and out is entering a single time card. So the thought here is it's just data entry like we did in the accounting system. This can be done on a phone, on a tablet, if a user prefers to just enter hours instead of clocking in and clocking out. Now, those that are heavy into cost coding, maybe these employees are bouncing around from task to task throughout that job, we have what we call the grid time card. So the grid time card would allow typically a supervisor foreman to start a new time card for whatever job they're on, tap next, define their crew, remove employees, add employees, tap next again, define whatever cost codes apply to that day, And then you can see here, this is more of a grid style. Here's the crew on the left. Here's each employee across the top. Particularly handy if these employees are bouncing from code to code. Now that labor is going into the proper bucket within the accounting system, knowing to divide those hours and that cost into those respective jobs and cost codes. So a variety, different companies work different ways. Some have each employee enter the time, others have the supervisor enter for the crew, some combination. Ultimately, your call if you were to use this. So the time entry, the rates automate, the fringe automates, and as a result, that information feeds into certified payroll reports. We do have two options here. We have electronic. So electronic would be uploads to a lot of these websites that are popping up, eMARS and eComply, and the big one out there that we see most often is LCP Tracker. So some states have their own uploads. A lot of states and counties and cities contract with these third-party websites like LCP Tracker. So what our system would do is create a file specific to LCP or whatever site you're utilizing. You upload it to that LCP website, and then you wipe your hands clean. There's no entry that you're doing into those sites. There's no manual process other than uploading that file that our system generates. Otherwise, if you go to the printed option, then you are able to print these out of here physically, and you'll see here if I go Department of Labor, that is the most widely used certified format. That's your standard Department of Labor. So WH-347, we will fill out the report itself, and then we will generate the signature page. So this one is what a lot of folks use by default. There are a number of states that have their own certified payroll forms as well. So anybody out there that's working for a particular state or agency that's got their own format, you would just select it out of the drop-down list, just picking one at random here, state of Delaware of all places. That's going to print right onto a blank piece of paper according to Delaware requirements. Or if I go to, again, just picking these at random here, if I select Nevada, same thing. It is unique to the state of Nevada. This would also go right onto a blank piece of paper. So the point here is we've got these formats built in. Any state that has their own that they come up with randomly or any kind of modifications to existing forms, we are on top of that. We embed that into our system, and nothing you'd have to do manually to manipulate that report. So these reports, they're stored historically. You don't need to archive data in our system. If you need to pull up a certified payroll report from 10 years ago, just put the dates in, run it. No purging, no archiving. All those reports, both electronic and print, those are always accessible historically for as long as you're using the program. All right, so we've gone over a bit of the job setup. We've gone through some time card entry directly into the foundation system, as well as by way of the mobile app, which would feed those time cards right into the software itself. And then we've got those certified payroll reports that are auto-generated. Before I go any further, I'm just going to pop over to the question section. We'll see if there's any specifics out there. All right, looks like we're in good shape there. This is all pretty straightforward. I usually don't get a ton of questions with these kind of quick hitting webinars. All right, so we're good there. Okay, so I'm going to hop ahead a little bit to kind of give everybody an idea of where those numbers ultimately go outside of that certified payroll report, meaning job costing, live cost reporting. So let's say that one of you folks out there decides to use Foundation. We've got the system set up, you're making those day-to-day entries, and all those numbers are ultimately feeding into their respective job reports. And to give everybody kind of a peek, a little general feel here, we have what we call the executive dashboard, which will give everybody a really good idea of what we can do in the way of job costing. So again, kind of deviating from the certified payroll topic specifically, but this is also good to see, just so you can see some of the job reporting capabilities. So the thought behind this is you can start on a very summarized level just to see a little snapshot of how you're doing overall, show me the total contract values for my active jobs and what we've billed against them, show me my estimated versus actual cost, estimated actual gross profit, each of those individual jobs on the right, which you can drill into. If I click this View Report button, that drills down to your work in progress to show the percentage of completion, the over-under billings, so the WIP reporting, that's our backbone. These are automatically generated without any kind of manual entry. From the WIP, click any job number that you'd like to dig into a little bit further. It'll show a summary of that job, contract amount, what's been billed, estimated cost, actual cost, gross margin, change orders, percent complete. So these are all numbers for that one job. Then if we click this job cost detail link, it's going to show our estimated and actual broken down into cost codes, again, for those that use cost codes. And then you'll see here any of these codes that I click into, and these are just my examples. Any code that I click into, here's the breakdown of that code: labor, material, subcontract, equipment, burden. We call these cost classes. And then with labor kind of being the topic for today, I've got this $4,200 in labor costs within that job and that cost code. If I click labor, that's going to show all of those transactions that fed directly into these job reports by way of payroll, again, whether it was entered directly into the system or fed in by way of our mobile timekeeping app. So again, this is just out there to give everybody a feel for what you could end up with in the way of job costing. This is all in addition to those certified reports that we automate. All right, so very topic specific here, total crash course. I'm going to jump back into the Q&A here. All right. And we've got a couple that rolled in. All right, so bear with me. All right, hang on one second. Let me see if I can expand this a little bit. All right, one question, this is just a general question. Are you a cloud system? We are a cloud system. So this is hosted. This is, we perform backups and updates, no server needed. So it is, very much cloud hosted. All right, and that was just a general question. All right, another question came in. Okay, combining reports, that I'd have to dig in. The question is, can you pull a certified payroll report and combine that with a statement? It probably has to be done manually. Yeah, you could export it and then maybe roll them up together, or just maybe have a PDF merger that could take two PDFs and combine them. But yeah, that one would be a little bit tricky. All right, let's see what else we have here. All right, so question is the upload feature, I think the question is it within Foundation? And it is. So yeah, the system will just create the upload like that LCP tracker, and then you can just upload that file directly to that LCP website or whoever it is that you're working with. All right, yeah, just a couple questions. Like I said, pretty quick and easy on this one. All right, let me just make sure I'm not missing any. Yeah, it looks like we covered them. Okay, very good. So here's where we go from this point. Anybody that has questions, you're all going to get a recording of the webinar here. So be on the lookout for that. It'll come over email, and all my contact information is going to be available. So if anybody does have specific questions, you can feel free to reach out. Now, I do work on the new client sales side of things, so it looks like there's some Foundation users that are out there. So if there's any questions from the Foundation users that are attending, we can get you pointed in the right direction, get you in touch with somebody over here on client sales or on the support side of things. Any non-Foundation users, you come directly to me. If you have questions, if there's anything else you want to take a look at, or for anybody out there that wants to take a look at the entire system, kind of a start to finish demo, those usually run about an hour, and we can facilitate that too if you're looking to get something on the calendar. So I appreciate everybody taking a look. I will let you get back to your day here. Like I said, keep an eye out for that email. That will come over pretty quickly here. and we'll just hold tight. Anything you need, just reach out at your convenience, and we'll go from there. Thanks again for sitting in, and you all enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.